looking into the audience, I see many young faces. And you remind me of my friends and I when we were in college. Beautiful, handsome, smart, promising, not very humble. In fact, downright arrogant, but full of energy, ready to take on the world, full of life. And that's what we are going to talk about today, life. And let's start at the beginning. And in the beginning, there was darkness. But in the darkness, there is life. Throbbing, pulsating, alive, precious, fragile, breathing, forming. And this life is greeted by the harsh fluorescent light of the maternity ward in a modern hospital. And there are these men and women in white looking at you. And you half open your eyes and say, God, I don't think I can get used to this. And just then, you get smacked on your bottom. This is an old practice to stimulate the newborn to take its first breath. But really, it's the first time you are being punished for independent thinking. It's the first time you are being punished for having your own opinion. And it will take maybe about 2 more years before you learn to say no to the world around you. So, this life, the beginning, the very conception of life, is a journey towards death. And who knows how long that journey will last, and when, where, how it will end. And there's something here that is of such fundamental significance, which is that life is something that we ourselves did not choose to come into being. It happens, it happened to us. And you know, you guys may resonate with this, our young friends here. You, as teenagers, for example, when we face some difficulties and frustrations, especially involving parents, and we might end up saying something like this: Mom, Dad, why did you do this to me? I didn't have a say in this. All right? Papa, why did you do it, whatever you did? Mama, why did you let him? And actually, this is serious because it is a fundamental philosophical problem. And it's been articulated very well by Albert Camus. A fundamental philosophical problem. Is life worth living? Because if we did not choose to be born into the world, there is a radical choice. The choice to end one's own life. This is not a cigarette advertisement. It's somebody I admire, Albert Camus. And in this work, The Myth of Sisyphus, Sisyphus, in Greek mythology, was condemned by the gods to keep rolling this huge rock up the mountain, to roll down the mountain all over again. And for Sisyphus to trudge down and to begin rolling it up again. This is punishment in the form of a futile life. Camus says, there are people who feel that life is not worth living, but there are people who get killed, and I might add, kill themselves, for the ideas and illusions that give them a reason for living. What is a reason for living is also a very good reason for dying. And what is a reason for dying could be a good reason for killing. And it is war, that extreme human situation in which one must be prepared to kill and be killed. What's the point? Perhaps the point is to kill or be killed. Is that the point? How do we understand this? This year is the 70th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, a war which saw great numbers of people killed. And one of the questions that has come out from the 20th century, whether it's the Holocaust or the atrocities which continue today, why do ordinary men, and yes, it tends to be men, why do ordinary men commit extraordinary evil? Why do they kill themselves and in the process kill others? One has to be trained to kill somebody. There's no natural law to say that this is something that any one of us will do. Let me see how I can illustrate this. Vivek, I need some equipment. Yeah. So this is actually a prop for the next speaker. His name is Harry Potter. Okay, I kind of need a volunteer. Okay, please. What's your name, sir?
Hi, Ray.
Ray? When you were a child, did you play with something like that? Is it something you can do?
Yeah.
Maybe in the war? What would you do? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that looks like a rifle. A rifle has a range of something like, say, a few hundred meters.
Yeah.
And when you point it a few hundred meters away,
Yeah.
you're actually pointing at a human being. But for practice, it's a target. And the target has no name. There's one generic name we give to targets. It's the enemy. No name, no face. And when the enemy is coming close to you, and most rifles are outfitted with a bayonet, a sharp point. What would you do with this bayonet? Tell me, what would you do?
Can I run first? Is that a choice?
You are bigger than I am. What would you do?
I'll charge. I'll try to charge.
Charge?
Yeah.
You will charge? You charge at me? Okay, let me make it easier for you. Charge. But in practice, it doesn't have to be a real human being. It can be a target. Here's your target. Ray, do it. Ray, do it! Fail. Ray, do it. Thank you, Ray. What does it take for a human being to be trained to kill another? One must first of all deny the humanity in the other. That thing is less than human. It's non-human. It's inhuman. And to do that, one must deny one's own humanity in ourselves. And this is what the Norwegian philosopher calls a double dehumanization. This was training during the First World War, where soldiers were fighting in the trenches. But by the Second World War, something completely changed the landscape of war. And that, especially, is aerial bombing. Especially, most tragically seen in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And this iconic picture, the mushroom cloud, again, there are many pictures of war without human beings in them, without faces, and certainly without names. And we ask ourselves, those soldiers, those military leaders, war is something that happens like a natural disaster. Could we, should we, would we have acted differently? And if you and I were in their shoes, should we, would we, could we have acted differently? And one answer is, you know what? The should and the would are irrelevant because under those conditions, we simply couldn't. And yet, by not asking these questions, would life be any better? Training, I think we have the highest regard for training, for vocational training, for practice. But training in the form of programming a person to act in a manner that is almost robotic, that is mechanical. Perhaps we should think about education, which has this Latin root, duco. I lead, a leading out, a drawing of the humanity in us. Rather than a kind of intrusion, trudo, I trust, putting in something which might not have been there originally. And if it were originally there, is it something that we could reverse with education? And this is the thought I would like to leave you with. In situations like war and many other situations which we face in life, it appears that there are times where the choices we make and the very idea of making a choice may matter little. But the little that it matters more than a little. Because in those moments of darkness, there is still life, throbbing, pulsating, precious, fragile, breathing, forming. And in those moments, that little life, which matters a little, matters more than a little. And it is saying, here I am. And I want to live as a human being, which means making choices in the face of ambiguities, complexities, contradictions, dilemmas, tensions. I choose to live. I choose to live as a human being. And the choices that I make or do not make, in making these choices and in not making these choices, I am responsible. Thank you.